Morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Economic Development Advisory Committee for January 14th, 2025. Happy New Year, everyone. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I got the roll call.
Thank you, Chair.
Present.
Sherry Kobus. Councillor McDonald.
Present.
Councillor McWhirter. Christina Oulet. John Pohl.
Present.
Lisa Vincent.
Present.
Lori Wickesher.
Present.
Chair, we do have quorum.
Thank you. All right, moving down to B, Declaration of Interests. Seeing none, so we'll go to presentation, delegations, and petitions. C1, County of Renfrew update will be presented by Warden Peter Emo.
Thank you very much. Just very quickly, as with everybody, we're working on just making sure that we meet the strat plan that we put in place, our multi-year strat plan. So we're including those in the work plan with the CAO, and he'll be presenting those to council this month. Working on our budget, it's about $234 million, with about $43 million of that going into the operations side, which is the, in short, roads. Of interest, 1/3 of that budget is health, and 2/3 of that budget is health and community services. So those are provincially mandated programs that we are forced to deliver. Some of them are 50% dollars, and some of them are 100% dollars, and some of them are no dollars. And it's a constant juggling act to move monies around within the envelopes of the programs that are allocated. We joined recently with FCM and AMO for the call to have a new financial framework for municipalities. Essentially, we're saying the same as this council has said and other councils across Ontario, is that the tax levy was not meant to support community housing, to support childcare, as well as our core activities. Our core activities are less than 1/3 of our budget. We're moving to a committee of the whole system, so we test drive that tomorrow. So there'll be lots of things to iron out, given that the committee system has existed, I think, probably since the county was formed in the 1870s. In Renfrew itself, we're doing a 3-for-1. There's one of our Renfrew County Housing Corporation buildings. We've sold it, and so someone is taking the house off the lot. Eric's aware of this. The lot is big enough that we can put a triplex on. So that's an experimental thing for us. We're hoping that to encourage the province to fund more of those. We have a total of our 1,022 units across the county. I believe there's something like 400 of the units are single dwellings like that. So if we want to increase our stock, as well as replace our old stock, the buildings that we're replacing are 1955 vintage. Renfrew County Housing Corporation was given by the province sight unseen all of the housing in 2000 in the who does what to whom exercise. A number of the structures were built by the lowest bidder, and so there are some issues, and so we've been constantly upgrading them. Some of our housing stock is at its end of life. So that was one of the ones it was seen as not being beneficial to put more money into it. And so we've undertaken an exercise through our building assessment building condition assessment index, as well as paid for the not-for-profits to have their properties assessed as well. Most of our stock is between 50 and 70 years old. There has been no significant federal investment since the 1990s in renewing stock, and the province hasn't been interested in as well. And so we're really struggling with the properties. So we're hopeful by doing this. We've also gone out to some developers and said, look, this is ideal property. It's on, in one instance, in Armfire, it's waterfront. In 2 instances, and so it would make sense for us to do a swap with a developer if they wanted the property. So we're having some active conversations about that. I would also talk to you a little bit about our transitional housing. We have constructed 10 beds in the Care For building. We're renting enough space for 10 beds for transitional housing in the Care For building on McKay. We have tied that to our MESA program, and as you know, our MESA program is a program where we team a community paramedic, and in this instance, down in this end, it's a mental health crisis worker. In the Pembroke area, it's an addictions worker, a substance abuse worker with the paramedics. And so part of it is to try and move people away from encampments and homelessness into a transitional house, and then move them into the programs that they require. Part of that also is when we've opened the warming center in Pembroke, and it has right now 25 chairs. We didn't want to open a shelter because it's an entirely different operation. So what we do is we operated a warming center, and it's got a more generically known as a lazy boy chair that can recline so people can come in and, if necessary, spend the night there. And so our night where we had the most people was 17. We had 17 people over the Christmas holidays in one night. We have about 40 unique visitors, meaning that there are 40 people who are fairly consistent, and there's been, I think, 10 people who have been coming through the area or weren't known to us. So we've managed to eradicate the encampments in the Pembroke area, and we're slowly working our way out into the other communities to see if we can move those along. The warming center is open from December 1st until the end of April, and we are looking at extending that and turning it into a 365-day-a-year operation, because there's the need for as a cooling center as well. How do we know we're being successful? We don't know yet. What we know is that we don't have any encampments and tents at this point, so that's one measure. We also have heard from the OPP that there are less complaints about people in the downtown core, or people panhandling, I guess is the best and probably least descriptive term, but probably the best one, on the downtown streets. We're also not getting as many complaints from some of the neighbors as well. So I think, that at this point, that's the only way we have of measuring success. The county still maintains through the Housing Corporation about 50 people in hotel beds, and so sometimes outside of the Pembroke area and in the Pembroke area. If someone is without a place, we'll move them through the warming center to a hotel bed. The transitional beds, when they come on stream, should take care of some of that. And last but not least, we have made application for a Heart Hub, and the Heart Hub is to deal with substance abuse. That is a significant weakness for Renfrew County. We do not have a treatment facility, and I'm going to pause and say we have McKay Manor, which does a great job, but they're smaller, and we need something a little more than that, and we also need something with wraparound services. So this would not replace McKay Manor. It would essentially add to the services that they provide. They're an active partner with us when we made the application for the Heart Hub. And with that, I think that's all I can report to you.
Thank you, Warden. Well said. Any questions from anyone? John Paul?
Through you, Chair. I'm curious, when we look at the 40 to 50 people that we're servicing in the warming centers and the subsequent 50 in hotels, so we're about 100 people, what is the, like, what do you guys predict the cost of that is to service those 100 people? Again, I love that you're doing it. It's great. I'm just curious.
Well, I chair the warming center committee only because Pembroke couldn't seem to get traction with it. So the cost of the warming center for 5 months will be approximately $225,000 because we're staffing at 24 hours a day, 2 staff in the evenings from 8 at night till 8 in the morning, 1 staff from 8 till 8 during the day with supplementary staff from community mental health, public health nurses, and things like that for harm reduction. So that, and the other, I believe we spend, I think last year was about $180,000 on hotel beds across the county for various stays. Most stays are, for the most part, about a week. Sometimes it might be longer if someone has an apartment lined up for February 1st and they come in January 10th, then we might hold them and pay for the stay right through. So yeah, I think I'll get accurate numbers, but I would think the number. I think the number I just gave you. I know the warming center number because I'm in charge of that budget, but the other one I haven't seen it recently.
Thank you, Warden. Any other questions? Great presentation. Thank you. Going to move on to C2, which is the County of Renfrew Economic Development Update. And with us is the Business Development Manager, Melissa Marquardt.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. Just waiting for my slide deck to appear up on the screen somewhere. So we're just waiting for that. So my name is Melissa Marquardt. I am the Manager of Economic Development with the County of Renfrew. So I'm here just to provide an update on our economic development services and highlight some of our key activities and priorities for 2025. Next slide, please. So economic development, we are actually 3 subdivisions within the County of Renfrew, and we are a division of the Development and Property Committee. So 3 areas of focus is economic development, which focuses on business attraction, investment, and retention. We also operate Enterprise Renfrew County, which is our entrepreneurship and business support center. And then we also operate the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association, which is the destination marketing and development organization for Renfrew County. So out of those 3 buckets, as I mentioned, economic development supports business investment, attraction, retention, and expansion throughout Renfrew County. So we do that by working with our economic development and community development partners across Renfrew County, as well as working with other industry partners, such as our ministry reps with the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, the Ministry of Agribusiness, Food and Agri Affairs, OMAFA now, which was OMAFRA, and also a number of other support organizations and ministries. And then through Enterprise Renfrew County, that is dedicated to small business and entrepreneurship support, and that is a program that's supported by the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. So you may have heard of some of our programs, Summer Company, which is a youth entrepreneurship program, Starter Company Plus, which is an adult entrepreneurship program. They also provide confidential business consultations to support businesses who are looking to expand, grow, that type of thing, fine-tune business plans. It could be new entrepreneurs, it could be existing entrepreneurs that we support. And then through the Tourist Association, the OVTA, as we call it for short, has been around since the 1950s, and that is a 3-way partnership with the County of Renfrew, the City of Pembroke, and the OVTA. So the OVTA is a not-for-profit association with its own board of directors and receives financial support, like I said, from the County of Renfrew and the City of Pembroke. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to get into a few of the highlights for 2025, starting with economic development. So we're guided by a 3-year strategic plan, 2024 to 2026, so we're in the middle of that. So out of our strategic plan, we've got 2 identified buckets. One is working towards enhancing a cohesive and collaborative region with our Ottawa Valley Economic Development partners. And then in the next slide, you'll see the area of focus is being investment ready. But under this first bucket, so our Ottawa Valley Economic Development Partners group, of which Jacob here and Hannah are part of our partners group, that's made up of all community and economic development officers across Renfrew County. So most municipalities are represented there, but it does not include all because some municipalities just don't have the resources to have those staff. So that's where we may come in and play a little bit of a bigger role in those municipalities. But our OVED partners group really is kind of what steers us and allows us to collaborate with our fellow municipal partners and just move the needle forward when it comes to economic development and priority actions. So a couple of the things that we're going to be undertaking this year and over next year. The first is developing a commercial and industrial land and building inventory. So many of our individual municipalities have this asset mapped out through their industrial lands or commercial viabilities, but we don't have one that brings all of the county of Renfrew together and kind of shows it on one big map. And that would be a great tool for us to take to trade shows and for investment opportunities. So we're looking at kind of bringing all of those assets together that will be housed on our Invest Renfrew County website. We're looking at creating a county-wide community profile. So right now we developed individual community profiles for each municipality and work with them to create that using our Esri GIS software. But we're looking at similar to our industrial land mapping and building, creating one that's a Renfrew County community-wide profile. We're also looking to conduct a sector analysis review. So under economic development, we have kind of 5 key priority areas that we focus on that are our largest sectors within Renfrew County. So that would be agriculture, advanced manufacturing, nuclear health and sciences, forestry, and tourism. We know that those priority sectors have not necessarily changed. They are still our top 5 growing sectors, but there are other sectors, you know, the gig economy, our retail sector, things like that, that probably could be elevated in our investment attraction pitches and things like that. So we're looking at doing an analysis review that would look at internal markets as well as our external markets as to who we're attracting internally versus externally for investment attraction. The other thing that we're doing, and this may seem rather simple and you would think, why have we not done this before, but it's mapping out the roles and responsibilities of economic development partners across Renfrew County. So we see that it's a bit defragmented across the county, just depending on the resources that are available at each municipal level and then available at the county level. And we find that when investors or potential businesses are coming to either invest or start up in Renfrew County, they're not really sure where to start. Do they start at the municipal level? Do they start at the county level? Do they start with an Enterprise Renfrew County, for example? Do they start with their Chamber of Commerce? So this is a way for us to just kind of map out everybody's roles and responsibilities, where we all fit into this magic piece of business investment attraction and support. And making it clear to the businesses and the investors where to go and who to go for support. So that will include all of our municipal partners, our provincial and federal ministerial partners as well, local support organizations like Chambers of Commerce's, and other entrepreneurial support organizations and things like that, and just making that a clear kind of this is where you go to start a business in Renfrew County kind of idea. And that would be available. We would share that on our website as well as make it available on all of our municipal partner websites also. And then lastly, under our OVED Partners bucket is we're going to be hosting an Economic Development Summit in the fall of 2025. So it's been quite some time since we've done one. The last one I think was 2018. And so it's just a great way to get all of our community economic development partners, our elected officials, our business community kind of in one room thinking about the future of economic development in Renfrew County and how we can all work together to kind of push that needle forward. Next slide, please. So under being investment ready, We're looking to enhance our Invest Renfrew County website, so that will be adding our industrial land mapping, our new toolkits that we're developing, things like that. We're going to be attending some trade shows to promote some investment-ready opportunities. We'll be at the Canadian Nuclear Association in April in support of our partners at CNL and all of the expansion and growth that's happening in Chalk River and how that can benefit our business community. We are continuously looking to support business succession planning. We know business succession planning in Renfrew County is a bit of a challenge. And so working through Enterprise Renfrew County as well as through the OVTA, we're looking at developing a series of business planning succession kind of webinars, training opportunities specifically for the tourism industry. That's one sector that really could use some support in that in terms of succession planning, as well as some of our retail sector and other things like that. Continuing to educate elected officials, staff, and partners on economic and community development. So that includes things like we are planning 2 bus tours this year for elected officials where we can get them out on a bus, bring them out to some of our business community so they can see firsthand the growth in some of our sectors. So this year we'll be focusing on agriculture and forestry as our 2 sectors, one in the spring and probably one in the fall. And then conducting regular outreach and support to local business community. And this is something we started last year. So we do this in partnership with our municipal partners as well as our provincial and federal partners. So for example, in October, ourselves as well as Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation and the Business Development Bank of Canada went out and visited a number of businesses just to showcase our services, have a conversation with those businesses, see how they're doing, if they're looking at growth opportunities or things like that, and if there's areas of support that we can provide or connect them with our ministerial, provincial, and federal partners. Next slide, please. So moving on to Enterprise Renfrew County. So our 3 core priorities for this year is continuing to promote our program's role and responsibilities. So as I mentioned, Starter Company Plus and Summer Company are our Enterprise Renfrew County's core entrepreneurship support programs. So Summer Company is for youth aged 15 to 29, and that's an opportunity for students who want to run their own business for a summer. And they can receive up to $3,000. They receive $1,500 at the start of the summer and then another $1,500 upon completion at the end of the program. And that's to run their own business throughout the summer, and then we provide them with support and guidance along the way in terms of developing their business plans, how they do cash flow projections, things like that. And then we usually wrap up at the end of the summer with a fun networking event. Our Starter Company Plus program is our adult entrepreneurship program, so that's applicable to anybody 18 and older. And that can be new businesses who are looking to start up, or it could be a business 5 years or less that is already in existence. And this is basically a fast-tracked business development program. So participants get put through a fast-paced business plan program where they develop their business plan, they look at risk mitigation, cash flow projections, financial management, insurance, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of that, I think it's an 8-week program, they have an opportunity to pitch for an up to $5,000 grant that can go towards their business. So that is a great program that we usually have a relatively large waiting list every season. So that runs twice, once in the spring and once in the fall. And so there's individuals can sign up now to be part of the spring cohort for Starter Company Plus. We are holding a Francophone business networking breakfast on March 4th, so that is in partnership with Renfrew County Community Futures as well as La Centre Culturel Francophone in Pembroke. And so we've done that. That's been for a couple years now, and we share that partnership with Community Futures. So last year Community Futures took the lead. This year it's ERC's time to take the lead. So we'll be doing that on March 4th, and that also includes presentation of our Francophone Entrepreneurship Award. So if anybody has Francophone entrepreneurs here in the town, applications are open for the Francophone Entrepreneurship Award, and those are being accepted until the end of February. Small Business Month is October. That's usually pretty busy time for Enterprise Renfrew County. They partner with a number of municipalities to host events, training opportunities, networking opportunities for the local business. And of course, the town has always been a great partner with us on those events. And then just continuing on with confidential consultations, training, networking. ERCs every month is running a variety of webinars. Right now they're getting into, heading into tax time, so there's going to be some tax webinars coming up for businesses. We're also looking at we're also holding webinars this month on the Paro Women's Circle Foundation and other things that are coming up. And there's lots on our calendar events on the website. We continue to work and support the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan on their entrepreneurship support, so we have a great relationship with them and work back and forth with their business support team also. And then looking to explore a sustainable funding model for Enterprise Renfrew County. So as I mentioned, it is a program from the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. However, the funds from the province for certain aspects of that program have been stagnant, and we haven't seen an increase in over 20 years. So there's a bit of a campaign that's building, and we'll be working through County Council and things like that at upcoming Roma and AMO to advocate for more support for that. And that's something that we're jumping on board with the entire Small Business Enterprise Centre across Ontario, because everybody's in the same situation right now. Next slide, please. And lastly, on the tourism side, for the OVTA, you may have heard mentioned this little thing called the Municipal Accommodation Tax. It's happening in the city of Pembroke and now the town of Petawawa. So we are supporting that. The OVTA is the identified eligible tourism entity to receive 50% of those funds from both of those communities. So those two municipalities started collecting as of January 1st of this year, and then implementation and marketing of those programs goes into place January 1st, 2026. So we'll start working with those two communities over the summer and fall to develop plans, work with their local partner groups and business community to develop that. We are almost at the end of our culinary tourism strategy, so we're looking to implement a few of the last items into that. And so that we worked with the Culinary Tourism Alliance a couple of years ago to develop a really robust culinary tourism strategy for the Ottawa Valley and really highlight the unique food providers, food producers, and things like that across Renfrew County. So we're really pleased with how that's turning out. We've developed a cooperative marketing program to increase revenue generation and committed to continuing to grow our membership. So during the pandemic in 2020, the board of directors made a decision to waive membership fees. The OVTA is a membership-based organization, but we could not be sending out invoices to businesses during the height of a pandemic when nobody was touring around or traveling. So we've waived membership fees for any organization located within the geographic boundaries of Renfrew County. We do have a small number of members that are located, for example, South Algonquin Township in the Pontiac in Lanark County, and they do pay a fee to be part of our organization. But any business located within Renfrew County and the geographic borders of the city of Pembroke, those fees are waived. And as a result, we've seen our membership more than double. So I've been with the county for almost 20 years now, most of that with the OVTA, and we were challenged with growing our membership beyond 200 businesses. And we are now at almost breaking 400. And we are seeing increased participation, increased collaboration amongst our tourism operators and with our tourism businesses with us. And so we want to maintain that. But on the flip side, that means we need to have more people participating in our marketing programs. So the staff have done a really great job of developing a really robust program this year that did go out just at the end of 2024. And will continue to go out over the course of the year with things like influencer partnership programs, where we can work with you to bring an influencer to your community or to your business, photo shoots. We look at collaborative marketing and advertising that we can do together, things like that. So, and that's always a really good opportunity for our municipal partners to participate as well. And I think that might be the last slide is a picture of the wonderful team. And so there they are in all of their glory. And I encourage everyone just to reach out to us. We're always happy to have a conversation and help support what's happening at the municipal level or in the community level and how we can all work together to make Renfrew County and our communities even better than what they are. So thank you, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Melissa. Well presented. Any questions from anyone at this time? Yeah, John.
Through you, Chair. I think it's excellent you guys are doing business succession planning, because certainly in our business, we see that as it's a challenge. There's a lot of great Renfrew County business owners that have run their businesses for a lot of years and are now trying to figure out exit strategies and to retire and enjoy all the fruits of their labors. I'm curious if on the list of lists you're making, is there an opportunity to have somewhere in your web portal the businesses that could be for sale in Renfrew County, so that somebody looking could go and they might be able to find just all the businesses that are for sale, and maybe it doesn't have to be specific, it could be just tourism opportunity, like just something where if someone was looking to get into something, they could find a quick list.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Yes, that's one thing we actually will be doing. So currently we do, on our website, we do link to the MLS listings, obviously. Sometimes, as we know, with succession planning, those businesses aren't all necessarily listed with an agent. And so for those that are listed publicly and those that want their information to be shared, definitely we'll be looking at listing those.
Great. Anything else? All right, thank you very much, Melissa. Well presented. Warden Nemo.
If I could just add one more piece about economic development. The Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus owns and operates the Eastern Ontario Leadership Council, and it's charged with developing economic development strategies for the whole region. And right now they're working on, they have task forces that are working on workforce development, technology integration, and integrated and intelligent transportation network. And there's a new group being set up that is going to be dealing with innovation. So you may want to pay attention to their website and some of the reports they're issuing. They might be helpful for you, and you may not end up duplicating things because they're doing a lot of the work for you.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. All right. Moving down to C.3, which is the healthcare economic development opportunities. John Pohl, you have something to comment on this?
Yeah, I had the opportunity yesterday to spend a bunch of time with Althoff Stationwalla, who's the current supervisor running RVH. I'm sure everyone knows the story that, the Ministry of Health put him in place. I was part of another group of donors and RVH supporters of the years that just were working to help support the hospital from a different perspective, so I had met him through that. So I picked his brain for a few minutes just about where he sees from his level, because he's used to being in Toronto. He deals with a lot of healthcare there. Now he's been, kind of parachuting into Renfrew and Renfrew County and seeing our wonderful facility. And I just said, like, from a healthcare perspective, I think from an economic development point of view, if we made a list in Renfrew, we would probably put healthcare on the list of really strong economic drivers. Like, what does he see, knowing what he knows? And he says healthcare is becoming increasingly an economic driver for most communities. For example, where he is, the city of Vaughan donated a whole bunch of land so that they could expand their facilities and do things like that. So he says, like, communities everywhere are realizing that it's a big part of what they do. He believes RVH is well positioned to grow, because I said to him, like, hey, we get a 4-lane highway, and what happens in Renfrew happens in Arnprior. What happens to RVH? Like, can we handle more capacity, or like, where are we at a capacity level? And he feels that we're in very good shape, especially because one of the big projects that RVH has been working on, and I don't know if it's officially been talked about, but he said I'm open to talk about it, is obviously RVH has been really aggressive at getting an MRI, and as I understand it, if we build the MRI, it kind of comes out the back of the hospital, which allows there to be an inpatient tower, which would sort of expand. I don't know if it's the 3rd floor or the 2nd floor, but basically we get more rooms for inpatient care as part of the MRI. So he says if we can secure that, which he has been a proponent of, and he's dealing directly with the Ministry of Health on his assignment, that's been very high on their priority list. So that, combined with what we already have, puts us in a really good place. He feels the biggest opportunity we have is attracting more clinicians. So clinicians are, doctors who do a variety of things. He said even for himself personally, he said what he's learned from being here is we have a attractive lifestyle that a lot of people in healthcare would like, and because of our proximity to Ottawa, it would be in our best advantage to be marketing our lifestyle, because a clinician could come and be part of RVH, say 70% of the time, but still be associated with an Ottawa hospital 30% of the time, so they kind of get the best of both worlds. Their kids can grow up in a small community, they can work at a nice hospital, but they can still get the fun, exciting ER TV stuff that we see at the bigger hospitals. So he says he thinks that's really attractive, and he said, like, I'm a perfect example. I didn't know anything about Renfrew till I got put in here, and the CEO position's opened, and I actually had a moment where I thought about it. So, and he goes, it's because of the people, it's because of the hospital. So certainly when we talk about the brochures and things that we're putting together for any business, he said anything that talks about attractive lifestyle is important. I asked him about the growth of RVH because, geographically, I don't know how constrained we may or may not be there, but I said, does it make sense to take another part of town and maybe have another hub? And his advice was, as much as you can, keep it in the same place, keep it in the same place. It's practical for new doctors because if something happens, they're close to the hospital. They can plan a day that they can do a little bit in the ER. They can still see general patients, that sort of thing. And he says currently at RVH, there's still space and room to grow. So in the health village, there's some room, and then some of the older buildings, as I understand, some of them are vacant because doctors have retired, so they're in a good position to be refurbished and repurposed. He said our biggest target should be young doctors who are coming out of school with loads of debt. He's one of the things Renfrew's done very well is we have a turnkey operation for these doctors where they can come in and we have their office and we have the support that they need, and we should really be focusing on that because we kind of have a one-stop shop for them where they can just come in and start. They don't have to worry about leases and technology, and we've done the work, so we should keep that in mind. And then I asked him about non-RVH possibilities, so healthcare things that are outside of RVH. So, like I said, plastic surgeon or I don't know, and he said his thought was the obvious one is any businesses you can get that support outpatient rehab. That's a huge growing industry in healthcare because the hospital obviously wants to get people out of the hospital and back into their homes. They do offer lots of rehab at the hospital, but he said if we could have that right out of the hospital, that would open up time and space for us to do more other urgent health care and the rehab. So I would think RCRC and Patrick Cahan, I'm sure we have lots of people that are already doing parts of that, but I'm going to guess that it's a very big pie because there's people that probably specialize in everything from toes to foreheads. So he said that's if you were looking at attracting those types of business, he said outpatient rehab would be the one that would make the most sense. But from a healthcare perspective, he thinks we've done a great job, and that's to the leadership at RVH and volunteers and obviously the team that works at RVH every day. So again, I think if there's opportunities for us as we're building kits or PDF files or whatever, it probably would be advantageous to have one that speaks, to lifestyle for medical people. And he is going to put us in touch with the new person who's taking care of RVH at HR, at RVH, because he said they might be able to help us not only with language, but then making sure they have it so as they're recruiting people and they have some extra stuff to talk about. So we're well positioned, and he didn't give me any magic pills, but connected a few dots anyway.
Amazing. Thank you, John, for doing that for the group and getting it to the table. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, through you, Chair. And John, I'm just wondering, would it help if Town of Renfrew passed a resolution in council, or even if something came from the county with regard to supporting an MRI, that kind of thing? Do you think that would make a difference?
As I understand it, and I'm not an expert, so if anyone watching on YouTube disagrees with me, I'm okay with that. So as I understand it, an application has gone into the Ministry of Health. In that application, they have supporting documents, like I know from my business, and as a donor, I wrote a piece of why it would be great. The impression that I get from Althoff is we're at the, I don't want to say we're at the top of the list, but we're in a priority position. He believes that when his work is done at the hospital, which my impression is it will be maybe 60 days or so, that his advice and what the board is working on is to make that MRI the next big thing, and he believes that like all of the work has been done, it's just sitting there waiting to be approved and or denied. His opinion as in his role is it should be approved, it should be, it's a no-brainer, because what makes Renfrew great for the MRI location is not only the facility, but that facility can help relieve stress from Ottawa. So where they're backed up with long waits for MRIs, ours wouldn't be at full capacity, so we could take some of their capacity, help them out. So he goes, it makes logical sense, and the leadership team at RVH has a really good plan, and the fundraising has always been really strong. So I think there could come a time for that. I don't know if it's now, though, because my impression was they're close to goal already. But I'm sure if they would like our support, I would recommend it for sure.
Excellent. Any other questions? Very good. Thank you, John, for that. Moving on to C.4, which is our Master Transportation Plan presentation. It's going to be given to us by Director. Oh my God, Bishop, thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to do an overview of our Master Transportation Plan that was just completed recently and passed, adopted by Council on December 10th, 2024. So it is posted on our website right now. There's a few big files, so if you were to go to the projects page, you can also see it there. But I'll go through an overview of the study and then kind of what recommendations and projects came from the Master Transportation Plan. So BTE is an engineering consultant specializing in transportation. They were retained in 2022 to undertake our Master Transportation Plan due to some needs in future development and coming down the line and some concerns about development of the town. So growth and expansion was a big one to consider, and it's a plan is essential for development planning, replacement of existing infrastructure, and maybe upsizing in certain cases, and to establish consistent standards. So as I mentioned, the final plan was adopted by Council on December 10th. It was also presented by Steve Taylor from BTE on May 10th, I believe, 2024, and then circulated to staff and Council for review. So the project stages starting in 2022 was just a study design, identification of problems and opportunities in the town. The first open house was June 29th, 2022, and BTE had developed a long list of options for improvements. After that, hearing some of the stakeholder comments and resident comments from that open house, and then they evaluated the connectivity with other municipalities, and then developed potential roadway projects within and on the outskirts of the town. So it's not just the town itself, it also kind of has some of our outer boundaries that might extend into other townships. And then our final open house was March 27th of 2024, and just recently BTE had submitted their final documentation. So these maps might be a little hard to see right now. We do have them posted on the website, so hopefully the committee can review this at a later date. But in this map here, we're showing our growth areas. So the blue highlighted areas are potential growth areas kind of throughout town, and the yellow are existing brownfield areas, so previously developed. So as you can see, I guess the highway would be on the right side of this map, and there is a lot of potential development land in blue there. Mr. Director Withers here beside me has been working on a East Development Lands secondary plan, which basically is that blue area to your bottom right. So it was a focus of the Master Transportation Plan to provide services to these growing areas and definitely focus on that section. So as I mentioned, the consultant developed a long list of potential projects and different transportation alternatives, and this resulted in a master transportation plan, including roadways, sidewalks, paths and trails, and intersection improvements. The projects range from active transportation, including sidewalks and multi-use paths, to new collector and arterial roads, to improve network connectivity, and, as mentioned, intersection improvements. So a number of policies were recommended from the plan. Traffic management policy includes a rideshare program, support for private commuter bus service to Ottawa, provisions for high-speed internet. Road aesthetics policy includes improving road aesthetics, set buildings back a certain distance from the road, and then burying utilities, including fiber and hydro. Traffic calming is creation of a municipal policy to address any traffic calming requests. Roundabout policy, to consider roundabouts as an alternative to improve intersections for traffic operations and safety. New roads policy, to set standards of road right-of-way, boulevard, sidewalk, and multi-use path widths, and set standards of sidewalk requirements for different road types specifically. Road name policy, they note that provide a common name for Veterans Memorial Boulevard / Raglan Street / O'Brien Road. As you travel down that section, it changes a few times. And then a truck route bylaw is the creation of a bylaw to manage the truck traffic through town. And sorry, this text is a little small as well, but recommended programs from this plan include local business advertisement, including advertising along the trails, ecotourism, improving signage and navigation to tourists, education, sustainability, including providing electric car charging stations, and a pedestrian and bicycle safety program. Tourism is a driver for our transportation system, and it was considered in this master transportation plan. So network improvements considered tourism, including expanding the network, widening roads, new sidewalks and multi-use paths, new parking lots and signage for trails and parks, and improvements to existing intersections. The plan includes several initiatives to improve safety, connectivity, and accessibility of our active transportation facilities. So here's another small map that we can dig into a little more if we have questions about specific projects, but they are all listed in an appendix posted on the website. So this map specifically outlines short-term projects, which is in the 0 to 10-year range. Alternatives were considered from a long list, and due to feedback and just transportation related decisions, this consultant selected certain projects, and these are the shortlisted short-term projects. So I don't know if we can really see many of them here, but they show some roundabouts at intersections along O'Brien Road, some new parking facilities, and multi-use paths. We might just have to run through the short list afterwards if we want to look at these a little more closely. The next one is our medium-term projects. So in this one, any black lines or circles that you see are from the short-term plan, and then the blue is the medium-term, so 10 to 20 years. So kind of starting to expand around town at this point. On the left and bottom side of the map, you can see some new roads and roundabouts there. And then our next one is our long-term plan, so a few extra roads for connectivity, some bypassing of the town, new roundabouts, and also the new interchanges shown from MPO. And then our overall map showing everything. It's a little busy, but that should show the projects from 0 to 20-plus years. So we can look at that more, or if you have any questions, we can chat about that. And then next is also kind of a busy map, but our trails and parking alternatives. So there are many proposed changes or additions to the trails that just kind of connect to existing roads or busy intersections so that pedestrians or anyone using the trail can get onto the roads easier. There's also some proposed parking lots and new sidewalks. I think the new sidewalks are more specifically just by the hospital. So major future projects that were identified are the Whitten Road closure and East Development lands. We have already kind of been started working on that. Opiongo Road realignment and the connection to Mattaway Drive. That is kind of in the design phase as well. Improvements to O'Brien Road intersections. Development of the West Boundary Road. Planning for river crossing improvements. And maybe realignment if the bridge ever needed some rehabilitation. That was a consideration. And the Confusion Corner, we can say intersection improvement. And then benefits of the Master Transportation Plan include opportunities to support local businesses and grow ecotourism in the town, improvement to the aesthetics, traffic operations, and safety of our existing facilities and transportation, and an environmentally sustainable and healthier community overall. So that's it that I have for an overview, but if I do have Sarah on standby with the short list of projects if you wanted to look at anything specific.
Thank you, Director Bishop. Well presented. Is there any questions at this time? Comments? Yeah.
Thank you. Through you. Another question, I just towards the clerk. For the economic development PowerPoint that we just had, and for this one, are we able to attach it to the YouTube channels for reference later, or the package within here? Just for a quick reference, I wonder.
I can issue a posted agenda and have them attached to that if you'd like.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes, John.
Through you. I'm just curious, when we get a report like this and we have the 10-year plans and whatnot, how much of what's on the plan would be a need versus it would be great if we could do? Like, obviously there's some stuff there you go, like, do we need 4 more roundabouts, or would they just be better? Like, if we didn't have them, would it be the end of the world? Like, how much goes need versus want?
I left that up to the transportation engineer to go through the alternatives and determine what would be best for the town in the future. And that was what's recommended, but it's not necessarily what we have to do. And the 10 to 20 year may change. Those projects may be bumped up for certain reasons or vice versa, just depending on development and the needs of the town.
Thank you. I know the map is gone. I'd like to highlight just the one area, and Director Withers could speak to it. There was a lot of effort put in near the the Algonquin Trail near our industrial area. That's going to be a huge advantage to the town of Renfrew and our economic growth. A lot of good plotted areas for residential growth and industrial growth. So as far as a focus point, I think that that's really exciting that we've got the roads laid out, at least on a map, and an idea of how to develop and maybe plan and attract, right? So it is a good document. Back another one, Sarah, if we can go back another slide. Maybe. There, it says, where it says the town of Renfrew in the blue section with a new road added right below the Algonquin Trail. It's an amazing little chunk of property, and I do believe there's going to be some more development coming out of Horton Township, which is the intention to tie into all this as well. So if this continues to grow the way we're expecting, this could be a great area for us to network and market and let people know that we're open for business, right? So, thank you. All right. Sorry, Lori, I'm trying to keep an eye on any questions?
Yeah, no, I was wondering if I could, I'm trying to figure out how to raise my hand, but I haven't figured it out yet. Through you, Chair, I'm wondering how this report is being communicated to, say, Admaston and Horton, and what kind of linkages there are with those other townships in terms of some of these recommendations.
question. I think Director Withers might be able to speak into it. No, it would be Director Bishop. My apologies.
He's just in my ear. I can just relay what he said. I guess at the time, there was agency and stakeholder engagement throughout the process, and I believe that they were notified of the study going on and consulted for any comments. So I don't know if the final plan has been circulated to them or if they're aware of that, but we can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
I can maybe just add quickly that ultimately, like some of these projects are going to require significant collaboration, right? Some of them are physically in other municipalities. So, but I think the idea behind a good master transportation plan is it doesn't end at your municipal boundary. It's got to create a road system that's going to work for the regional population, and so that's what this master plan is doing. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything else, Lori? No.
No, that's it. No, that's it. I think that's terrific. Thank you.
Great, great. Okay, we're going to move into Section D, which is going to be an update from the Renfrew BIA, and Lisa Vincent's going to provide us that.
Morning. Thank you, through you, Chair. We actually just met yesterday morning, so starting off the year with we have to establish budgets and all the things that a board has to do. At this point, the budget is going to be holding off until tonight's decision by council whether the expansion of the BIA is going to go through, and then at that point we will be able to make some final decisions on our 2025 budget. As far as the promotions that have happened, are up and coming, we came through Christmas, and I don't know if anyone was able to participate, but we had the 12 Days of Christmas event downtown Renfrew. So patrons who made purchases in our area, our BIA mandated area, could submit their receipts, and every day we gave away a $100 voucher for a gift card for downtown Renfrew. So hopefully we'll see some of that return during these quiet months when people are hibernating because of the cold. So with regards to up and coming, our next event is our Show the Love promotion. And I don't know, Sarah, did want to send you our posters and available? You'll see them start showing up around town in merchants' windows and businesses' windows, as well as on social media. This is not a new promotion. We've run it for several years now, and it's similar to what we've done with regards to purchases in our businesses. Patrons submit their receipts, and they have the opportunity to win a $50 BIA gift voucher, which is redeemable then in all the participating businesses who are participating in the Hello program. So we're also working on a downtown map initiative at this point. It will be tied in also with some, I'll delve into the attraction and awareness boards, but it'll be tied in with that. Again, that's on hold a little bit until we know what our actual boundaries are going to be before we can establish a full map. But there's been some early work on it with regards to getting maybe some local artists or artisans on board and assisting in developing the map and putting sort of a more personal touch on it. We've also had, we're going to be updating some O'Brien Road signage, inviting people into our downtown core. Welcome to downtown Renfrew. The Algonquin Trail, we're going to be participating also into signage on that, on the Algonquin Trail, to encourage snowmobilers, ATVers, anyone using the trail to stop in downtown Renfrew while passing through the community. And the attraction and awareness boards that I previously mentioned, they're currently sitting, waiting to be utilized. I guess we'll have to look at when the weather's going to cooperate, as well as confirming a final location for one of them. One will be located in Low Square, and we're just currently waiting for the approval for the second board. We're hoping at the post office location. These boards will have information for visitors as to what's happening downtown for the year. any businesses will be able to advertise some of their ongoing information or any of their events. The map will be available through that as well, and we're going to have QR codes so that can direct people to anything that's up and coming, or if they happen to be in town one day specifically, then they'll be made aware of what's happening that day. Yeah, so, and how we're going to support it financially is, as I say, is we're going to try to partnership with not only our own businesses and advertising what's going on in their own business, but also looking to partnership with tourism. So for example, the Bonchur Caves and entities like that might be interested in purchasing some space on the boards. So we have a number of 2025 events that we've solidified at this point. As I mentioned, the first one, up and coming one, is Show Your Love. Then our Great Downtown Garage Sale, that's been ongoing now for, oh my gosh, probably about 20 years. We're having a Mother's Day and Father's Day giveaway on social media, and there's going to be music in the square every Friday evening in July and August. We have That Summer Night, which again is an ongoing promotion that is very well received and been very successful to attract people to the street. And the Dog Days of Summer event, again, well, that'll be in July, sorry, That Summer Night, and the Dog Days of Summer will fall in August. And that was a new event this past year, so we're going to hopefully be bigger and better for that one. We also have a Sip, Shop, and Savor coming up, which coincides with the beer festival. Freaky Friday, which, as we well know, is a very well-attended event, and we will be resurrecting again this year Applelicious, which was a restaurant event we held in November this year, and we had sort of limited participation from the restaurants, but that participation was very successful. And we gave away, I think, almost $2,000 worth of vouchers to patrons who entered the businesses, made a purchase, submitted it, and they now can use those vouchers back in the business that they had patronized at the time. So, well, and again, light up the squares on our mandate for this year. For Saturday, November 29th is the target, and that was a wonderful event this year. We partnered with the town and a number of other businesses to light up Low Square and have some festivities involved with it at the same time. And again, we'll repeat the 12 Days of Christmas and a Raglan Street Christmas this December. We've done a number of branding and marketing activities. So now we have Downtown Renfrew Business Improvement Area, reusable shopping bags and magnets. And the magnets indicate all of our events this year. So if you don't have one yet, grab one and throw it on your fridge so you know what's going on. And we also have branded regular, I mean, because we did rebrand this year, so all our letterhead and that kind of thing. So it's something that we're going to go through forward with and hopefully help generate revenue as well with things like the bags, possibly T-shirts, hats, you know, that kind of thing down the road. So yeah, that's kind of the overview for the upcoming year.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Lisa, any questions? Not seen any. Thank you very much for the report. It's much appreciated. We'll move on to D.2, which is the Renfrew Area and Chamber of Commerce update, and that will be through Lori Wickershire.
It is. It's me. So similar to Lisa, the Chamber is currently also going through its budget deliberations, and similar to most of you involved with all the municipal folks, I'm sure going through the same thing. As always, it's a struggle. But in terms of our Chamber update, and I think I've said this the couple of times that I've done the update, I'm very excited with the membership of our Board of Directors. They're all very engaged and very anxious to improve the offerings of the Chamber and make it relevant going forward. We started that in the fall with our Chamber Sticker Initiative just to sort of generate some income separate and apart from like membership dues, which was very successful for our first outing. We gave away a prize package in December just before Christmas that was I'm going to say probably close to $1,000 worth of products that were donated by members of the chamber. We're going to continue that initiative with 2 draws a year. The next one will be in June, a little more summer focused, and kind of hopefully keep that up. We have reestablished an event committee as part of the chamber, and that event committee has now come up with 4 dates for after-hours networking events, which have kind of been on hold since the pandemic, so we're putting them back out there. We have tentative dates. It looks like Thursday, February 27th, which may slide into March, but anyway, that's the date right now. Thursday, May 29th, Thursday, September 25th, and Thursday, December 4th, and they will be from 4:30 to 6:30 at various locations across the Chamber's jurisdiction, which is, of course, the Town of Renfrew, Township of Greater Madawaska, Township of Horton, and the Township of Admaston-Bromley. So our annual general meeting has been scheduled, and it will be a breakfast networking event, and separate from the previous events that I just mentioned, and it will take place Tuesday, March 25th, beginning at 7:30 in the morning with a breakfast and a guest speaker, and then the actual regularities of the AGM will continue after that. We currently have a call out for new members to join our board of directors for the 2025-26 year, and that's open until February 21st. We've already had some great names pop forward, so that's wonderful. The new thing that we've started this year, which I think I spoke about last time, was our member-to-member initiative, and that's had a really great response. So this year with our membership proposal, what we have is kind of 3 different levels of chamber membership. One at just kind of a supporter level where you just are a member of the chamber and you can come to our events and stuff free of charge. And then there's kind of a middle of the road sponsorship where you get access to this business-to-business program, and then at the top level, you're an executive member, and you can participate in this and also offer your services up as a business that's participating. So right now we have, I think it's 5 businesses that are offering discounts to fellow chamber members that are at that at minimum, that second tier, and that's myself at Castle, Keith Gorley at the Gorley's, Personalize It. Oh boy, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the other 2. I think there's 5, but anyway, it's all really great. Businesses that provide service to anyone, whether it's a business or an individual. So cards will be being issued to our members that have purchased a membership that entitles them to that, so that businesses will be able to know that they're entitled. And lastly, we are actively in a membership drive. We have John and his group have been gracious enough to give us a great deal on doing some radio advertising in terms of trying to access people that may have forgot about us over the pandemic and such. And so we have new membership brochures that are available that outline our new membership categories. I'm also very excited to hear that the economic development folks from the county are going to be engaging Chamber of Commerce's from across the county to discuss that type of things. I think you'll get a lot of valuable input, at least from the membership of the Renfrew Chamber, because we have some very active folks involved these days. So anyway, that's it for me right now. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Lori. Open up any questions at this time for Lori? Not seeing anything. Lori, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
It's always good information. We're going to move down to E.1, which is the Community Improvement Plan Review, and that the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommends that the Renfrew Town Council consider a review of the Community Improvement Plan for the Town of Renfrew as part of the 2026 budget, and further that the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommends that Renfrew Town Council appoint the Economic Development Advisory Committee as the steering committee for the purposes of the CIP review project. Can I have a mover? Councillor McDonald. I'm going to turn this over to Director Withers for his presentation.
Yes, thank you, and through the chair. So very pleased to be able to bring this more comprehensive report before the committee today. We had previously brought in last October a presentation to the committee just providing an overview on the CIP program, just with the anticipation that a recommendation might come from this committee to council with respect to reviewing the CIP. So the hope is that this report provides a bit of added context and detail that will assist the committee in any recommendations that it sees as appropriate to make to council. So maybe just from the top, again, providing the legislative context for the community improvement plans in general. So community improvement plans, or CIPs, they are enabled by Section 28 of the Planning Act, the Planning Act being the principal piece of planning legislation in the province of Ontario. And just very simply, the reason that CIPs exist is to provide for a targeted exemption to the prohibition on bonusing in Section 106 of the Municipal Act. And bonusing is defined very in short as the use of municipal tax funds to give an advantage to one commercial or industrial business over another. So municipalities cannot legally do that, with the exception of the targeted tools that are provided, and one of those is through CIPs under Section 28 of the Planning Act. Under Section 28, the Planning Act identifies that CIPs can be used to make grants or loans to registered owners, assessed owners, and tenants of lands and buildings within the CIP project area, and to any person to whom such an owner or tenant has assigned the right to receive such a grant or loan. And the purpose is to pay for eligible costs of work that are done as part of the programs of the CIP. Eligible costs can include things like environmental site assessments and environmental remediation. So if we have a brownfield property which is contaminated, it can be for the development, redevelopment, construction, and reconstruction of lands and buildings, for rehabilitation purposes, or for the provision of energy efficient uses. So any energy efficiency programs or similar facilities. And specifically, the Planning Act identifies that CIPs can be used to support the provision of affordable housing. I'll say that most commonly CIPs use grant programs that target specific elements of the built environment as the main lever for delivering funds under the CIP. These commonly include building and facade improvements, landscaping and parking area improvements, accessibility improvements, the maintenance of heritage buildings. So when I worked for the town of Niagara-on-the-Lake, we had a pretty well-developed heritage grant program specifically for designated heritage properties. More recently, affordable housing measures have come online as a hot topic for CIPs. Specifically, CIPs, when it comes to affordable housing, the most common avenue that you would take to do that is supporting additional residential units. You can take other routes, but additional residential units would seem to be the most logical avenue that you would take to apply CIP funds to. And what that would typically mean is you would be adding a second or a third residential unit in a detached house, semi-detached house, or a row house on a parcel of land that already has a single semi or a row house. And the Planning Act actually specifically requires, in 2022 and 2023 was amended to require municipalities to permit up to 3 residential units on all residential properties that are serviced by municipal water and sewer services. It's as of right, meaning that no planning approvals are required in order to build the units. So if you have any provisions or policies in your documents that say that prohibit that, the Planning Act deems them to be of no force and effect. Okay, so, and we have had building permits come forward for the addition of these second and third residential units. Now, municipalities can put in place certain requirements like setbacks and coverage maximums and things like that, that regulate the construction of additional residential units, but they can't be onerous such that they are effectively a prohibition on the construction of the additional residential units. So essentially what that means is that anyone can walk in today and apply for a second or a third residential unit on a property where a single semi or townhouse is permitted. With respect to parking, because it's a common question, the Planning Act limits it to 1 parking space per dwelling unit. Okay, that's the maximum that you can require. So if you have 3 residential units on a property, the maximum that you can require is 3 parking spaces for that property. And they can be tandem parking spaces, which means they park in a row. So they do not have to, specifically do not have to have separate access and independent access to the street. And this was historically a common way that municipalities would regulate where additional residential units could be constructed, because in older areas of town where you normally just have those single wide driveways, right? Well, the Planning Act specifically says that tandem spaces must be permitted. And so that, you might have people that have to shuffle cars. That's just something that the Planning Act says you have to require, or you have to permit. The reason all this fuss around ARUs, and I'll get back to CIPs, but is that additional residential units, if we're going to go in this direction of affordable housing, it's important to understand them. They're considered to be one of the most cost-effective and expeditious or fast ways of increasing the supply of rental housing stock in communities. And the reason is they can be developed by any property owner, whereas your traditional rental housing development, apartments, you typically require more capital, more development experience, those kinds of things. So they're a little bit easier to bring online. Just turning to the 2015 CIP that was adopted by Council, it currently includes 4 districts as well as a town-wide district. And if you have access to the report and Appendix A to the report, you'll see a map that illustrates the districts. So we have the downtown core district, which is shown in red. It's exactly where you would assume it would be. It focuses on properties that front Raglan Street South in the heart of the downtown. All programs are available to properties within the downtown core district. The downtown periphery district is essentially properties that are on in and around Plant and Argyle that are commercial properties. Those are within the downtown periphery district. And so all programs, with the exception of the facade and signage improvement grant program, are available to the downtown periphery district. The Stewart Street commercial district, same thing, all programs with the exception of the facade and signage improvement grant. The O'Brien Road and Veterans Memorial Boulevard district, all programs with the exception of the facade and signage improvement grant, the planning and building permit fee grant, and the tax increment equivalent grant, and I'll explain that in a minute, what that is. And then we have a town-wide district, and all commercial properties are eligible for this, and specifically for brownfields. It's to support environmental studies and offset the costs of any remediation that might be required. Historically, the town has budgeted between $20,000 and $30,000 annually for CIP grant applications. We typically haven't had applications exceed that amount. However, it's been well utilized. Most commonly, we receive applications related to, and it's in the downtown core, related to signage, building, and facade improvements, as well as parking and landscape improvements. And just for a quick overview, just so the committee is aware, the programs that are available are the facade and signage improvement grant, which I know is only available in the downtown. That's probably our most used program. We also have landscaping and property improvement grants, so exactly what hard and soft landscaping, parking areas. We saw that most recently. Was it what funeral home?
Goulet.
The Goulet Funeral Home, thank you, just redid their interlock through that program. The accessibility improvement grant, so if you want to add door openers or widen entrances, that's available in all of the districts. The planning and building fee permit grant is to offset or partially pay for the fees associated with planning applications and building permits. That's available in the downtown core, downtown periphery, and the Stewart Street commercial. The last two programs, the tax increment equivalent grant and the brownfield programs. So the tax increment, they're not really used all that much. They're larger programs. They would likely require separate budget allocation by council if we received one. The tax increment equivalent grant, it's available in the downtown core, downtown periphery, and Stewart Street districts. And just very simply, what that is intended to do is that is intended to refund a declining portion of the increase in property tax that results from redevelopment. So it's typically a 10-year agreement that's entered into. In the first year, you would receive, say, a 90% refund on just the increase. Okay, so if you paid $1,000 in property tax before the redevelopment and you paid $2,000 after redevelopment, then you would receive 90% of that $1,000 increase in the first year. The second year would be 80, 70, 60, 50 until the end of the agreement, and then you would be responsible for paying the full tax on the property. But it's really just a way of softening the property tax increase to support the redevelopment of properties within the downtown core, downtown periphery, and Stewart Street. As I mentioned, we don't have people come forward with it as much, but it's certainly available. The environmental study and the brownfield property tax assistance programs, again, available for brownfield properties, and it's available townwide. At the regular council meeting of June 13th, 2024, council directed that staff complete a review of the community improvement program, which should include grants, programs, funding, and geographic location. So that was broad direction that was provided by council last summer. And the plan moving forward is to provide some budget in order to do that. And that would in part flow through a recommendation from this committee with respect to the timing of undertaking that project and when funds should be allocated. In 2023, again, just for some added context, the council adopted the Attainable Housing Action Plan. And included in the action plan was a consideration for using the CIP enhancements for affordable housing. The action plan recommended a budget of $100,000 for those kinds of grants. That's a pretty significant budget, and I would suggest that council could tailor the program to any initiatives and set grant amounts at whatever it wants, including just simply including it within the existing annual budget of $20,000 to $30,000. So that was a recommendation from the consultants that did the Attainable Housing Action Plan of $100,000. Funding could also be considered through the Housing Accelerator Fund. The town, we do have an active application being considered by the federal government right now. We haven't heard back on it. If we were to be successful, those funds could be allocated to an initiative like that. Other options, when we do the review, other options are available to council, things like the maintenance of designated heritage properties, as I mentioned, reviewing the boundaries of the CIP districts, reviewing the CIP districts themselves, so we have 4 of them plus a town-wide boundary district. Do we want more districts? Do we want fewer districts? So those are some of the options that are available when we undertake the review. The CIP review would typically be undertaken by a qualified consultant and would include generally the following work plan items. The review of the existing CIP and background documents, policies, and legislation, initial public and agency consultation. A background report would typically be prepared, which would include a summary of the background document review, consultant findings, and the recommendations for revising the CIP document. It'd be followed by an actual draft revised CIP document, including updated programs, districts, and policies. That would go to council for endorsement of the draft CIP for statutory and public agency consultation. We would have to have a statutory public meeting, which is a requirement under the Planning Act. We would make any resulting revisions from the consultation phase to the CIP document based on council direction, and I should say also for any steering committee direction, assuming that that this committee would function as the steering committee for that project. The final revised CIP would then be adopted, and we would have the steering committee meetings like on a milestone basis typically. So when a draft report or the draft CIP is available for review, that would be circulated, and we would meet as a steering committee to provide any recommendations on those deliverables. So those are my comments on this item, and as noted, it's anticipated that council would move forward with this project. It sounds like in 2026, but again, depending on the recommendations of this committee and council's budget deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Withers. It's a massive program. There's a lot of information in there, so I know we're only scratching the surface, so thank you so far. Any questions from anyone? Yeah, John?
Through you, Chair. Just curious, the federal grant that's been applied for that you're waiting on an answer for, how much is that, like if we were approved, what's the dollar sum there?
Potentially very significant, potentially in the millions of dollars. It really depends on, we've put forward a formula to CMHC based on what we think development may look like over the next 3 to 5 years, which is generally the window that funding is going to be available for if we're approved. Ultimately, it depends on the number of housing units that are constructed. It's specifically a formula-based grant, so we are given a grant amount. I'll say that it starts at about $20,000 a door, and there are bonuses for certain types of units. If they're apartment units, we would get more funding. If they are affordable units, we would get more funding. So the funding is potentially quite significant. This is the second intake. We were not successful in the first intake. I don't believe any municipality, rural municipality in Eastern Ontario was successful, and there was some kind of political movement on that point, and so the second intake was rolled out, and it was communicated that it was in part to address the issue that rural municipalities were kind of given the cold shoulder through the first intake. So fingers crossed, we'll have at least some funding through that program, but we'll just have to see what the CMHC comes forward with. They've not given us a timeline, and it's been several months since we applied.
Great. Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, I have 2 of them directed towards the Director. With regard to the CIP review, is that something that we could do in-house? That's the first question.
I'm going to say that it could be done in-house. It would take longer. And we probably wouldn't have the benefit of, typically when you bring a specialist in, they've done several of them before, and they would have the benefit of just how things are being done in other municipalities with a bit more readiness than, say, we would get through online research. You know, they've done them in other places, other jurisdictions. So I'd say kind of similar to the rent-free secondary plan. We have limited. I'm the planner here, so I'd probably be doing it. Which is, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I have support, but it would just probably take a little longer. Yeah. Thank you.
Second question?
Yes.
Thank you. You talked about, in your narrative, about grants or loans. I know we've given out grants with regard to the CIP program before. Have we ever done loans?
We have not.
Just
Yeah,
follow up with regard to that. It's only because we're dealing with the financial situation we have now in town, so as opposed to just giving out the free money, I'm just wondering if that is an option too that we can do, is to assist people with a loan to retrieve back some of the funds later on. So I just thought if that's an option as we move forward. Thank you.
Director Withers, any comment or just noted?
I'll just say, so we would have to consider that as part of the CIP review. Right now it's set up as a grant program. So we don't have the discretionary basis to turn it into a loan program, but we can look at that for sure.
Excellent. So with that being said, Lori, anything?
Sorry, I have one
No, don't say
minor
sorry.
question. It might be, sorry, no, through you, Chair, to Director Withers. And it might be just my thick brain this morning, but when we talked about the grant or the assistance with the brownfield remediation, does that apply just to those 4-zone commercial properties, or could it also apply to a situation where you'd be looking to build affordable housing on that land? I wasn't sure where that line was drawn.
That's a great question. So it's town-wide, and it's for any brownfield property. So yeah, I suppose it could be. Typically, your brownfields are industrial land, though. There are challenges with using brownfields for affordable housing because the standard for residential use is quite high. Whereas if you were to just cap it with asphalt and use it for other purposes, that, if you're just trying to accomplish a financing objective to satisfy a financier, if you were to use it for residential purposes, it's a bit more intensive. I would say that it's less likely to be used for affordable housing just because of where brownfields are typically located. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. So I should know the answer, but I'm going to clarify because this is a vote, so the intention is that we're going to be moving this along for Town Council to put this into the budget for 2026 to have this reviewed, and then the intention is to have this working committee, whenever the time comes, to kind of work with the consultant to generate a new CIP. So that's what I'm getting from this. Everyone's in agreement, or at least understanding of that. Okay, I'll read it again just so that we have it fresh, and then we'll do a vote. That the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommends that Renfrew Town Council consider a review of the Community Improvement Plan for the Town of Renfrew as part of the 2026 budget. And further, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommends that Renfrew Town Council appoint the Economic Development Advisory Committee as the steering committee for the purposes of the CIP review. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, everyone. E.2, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee identify the desired topics for the February committee meeting and confirmed by any additional items to be brought forward. I have a mover. Councillor McDonald. So, no attachments. Deputy Clerk.
Through you, Chair, it looks like there was an error with the attachments. This is a review of the same meeting topics that we had reviewed at the last meeting in December, and it was requested that they be carried forward to every meeting, just to review if there was any topics that you wanted to cover for February. If you give me a minute, I can try and pull those up and put them on the screen for you if you'd like.
I think it'd be helpful, real quick, if there's anything in there we can talk to. Councillor McDonald.
I do note, Chair, one of the things we talked about at the last meeting was in terms of potentially getting, as we're researching that, potentially getting the guest speakers to come in, not necessarily a formal delegation, but business leaders or people that have input with regard to it. That was noted last time, but I think that's a great idea as we move forward. And maybe we can get some of those ideas from people around the table as we move forward. I don't know if it has to be done publicly right now, but we can talk about it. Thank you.
All right, we do have a list up on there. I'll open up to the table if anyone sees something or if there's something in particular. Again, we're just looking for recommendations to help populate the meetings so that they're full and wholesome like today's. All right, as compared to putting everyone on the spot, although I will take it if it's there, we could put a week's timeline on this. If it's time to review, if there's anything that comes up, we can reach out to the Deputy Clerk, right, and just give our thoughts on what could be beneficial and just try and help the process move forward. So with that, if no one has any suggestions at the time, Councillor McDonald.
I'll just throw it out right now. And I saw the Home Builders Association, or if we have under developers and all that sort of stuff. Maybe if we, I don't know what that means, do we bring in some local developers, what we can do to assist them, or some different strategies in terms of housing? So, thank you.
Yeah, noted. John?
Through your chair, I would suggest two things. I think we should probably come up with an invitation to any of these guests and clearly outline what we want them to highlight while they're here, like specific, like challenges you have, things you think we could help, things we should know. And then I would probably put the new CAO for the town of Renfrew on the list. And eventually there'll be a new CEO for RVH as well. So, I mean, I think any of our Renfrew bigwigs that are new to town and are new to what we do, I think any way we can hear from them, even just as an introduction, and let them know our support, I think that'd be good.
That's great, thank you.
That's great, yeah.
Lori?
I like the homeowners idea, and I might be able to help with that a little bit, like find the right people to speak regarding the development and how to move through it. Yeah, I think that's important, and I love John's ideas. Those are great. I don't have anything further to add at this point.
Excellent, thank you. So at this time, these are all been noted. Yes, I'm getting a nod from the Deputy Clerk. Yeah, all right, all in favor? Carried, thank you. F, communications and petitions. I don't have anything on there, but I am going to say quickly that immediately following our last Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting, we had a council meeting where we did award Jacob Collins the opportunity to be our new Economic Development Coordinator. So we were in need of an individual to have access to. Jacob is going to be our point of contact, so if someone has anything for economic development, as it was well stated that we needed a point of contact, here he is. He looks very happy to be here. Moving forward to committee minutes. I do not have a vote for that. Is that okay?
I will add it there.
Yes. Is it in the paperwork?
It's listed here.
Is it? Okay.
It just didn't show up on the agenda.
Okay, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee confirm the minutes of committee meeting 5-2024 dated December 10th, 2024. Can I have a mover? Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. H is upcoming meetings for committee. The next regular scheduled meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Committee is scheduled for February 11th, 2025 at 10 a.m. And at 11:44 a.m. I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, and I appreciate being connected this way. It's great.
Awesome, Lori. Happy you were here.
Oh, thanks. Okay. See you later.